Can you guys hear me? You can hear that, right?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Morning all, afternoon, evening, whatever it is.
I'm very happy to do this morning. As I'm sure many of you know, he is a big figure in Extreme's history. He's ridden on his coattails for 20 years. And I'll never tell him that. We're going to have him play some of his riffs and show you how easy they actually are. Anyone could do them. I don't know if everybody knows much about your history. Maybe we should a kind of elevator pitch, the Blues Saraceno elevator pitch.
I really wanted to play a stadium. I wanted to play for girls. I got an opportunity to join this band Poison, which was kind of like a hair metal, and they were definitely top of the food chain for that. And they said, "Hey, we need you to come do this European tour," or whatever. I think it was South America. I'm in, and went and played like Chile and Caracas in South America. It was like us and Aerosmith. I got to play in front of so many people that, this was pre-cell phone. They would hold up the lighters, and it was an outside. It felt like you could see the curvature of the earth. I mean, it was a really cool experience to be outside. I could play as loud as I wanted, which was awesome. You're sitting in a hotel with, Whitney Houston, Robert Plant, and Aerosmith, and I'm just sitting there like, by the pool, just drinking, whatever, going, this is pretty cool. And meanwhile, the whole time I was working for companies like Fox and ABC and NBC. Like they'd call me to do like a Super Bowl commercial or something cool like that. And so I just kind of started morphing it. And so I had this background on all these things, and they became tools in the toolbox. And ultimately the great part for me is that I got to use all those tools when I started, dub team with Extreme and doing stuff. All those things that I had used in the past became relevant. So it was a good thing, and that's kind of how I ended up morphing up into what we're doing now.
I think blues is the antithesis of hand stitched. There's no detail is too much for him, and it's almost like every string, every note. There's nothing is wasted on a Blues Saraceno track, as far as I'm concerned.
When we started this, I think it was over 19 years ago, it was a different landscape. It was kind of like the Wild West. You could kind of do whatever you could, but the key was trying to figure out what would work. And so it took a minute. We kind of had to just keep experimenting. Everybody across the board did. But I think the thing that we ended up doing that a lot of people didn't is we kind of figured it out first. We're making it like a record, because my background was, I came from making records. I was either originally a, guitar guy that became a band guy, that became a session guy, that became a producer. And so in essence, when I met Russell early on, I just was already making records, and he's like, we want that. We basically, I remember having a conversation with him, and he was like, you need to make the track on the record that you want to hear. The reality is a lot of people can't tell the difference between good or great when it comes to instrumental. So the challenge is, how do you create a track that is, grabs their attention with the vocals, but at the same time holds up with the instrumental part. And so what we kind of started messing with, and just through trial and error, we kind of figured out it really, at least for my stuff, would come down to the riffs. There was one song, which is a song called Save My Soul. And this is when I knew we were kind of off to the races. Just came up with this, or I was just messing around, and it just basically was like, and I knew we were onto something when Carl's Jr. would use it, as well as Arby's would use it, as well as Ford trucks. And then they use that same song for the theme to the Men Who Built America. So it's just, or you'll be watching Netflix with your kids, and sure enough, they're bopping around the room, and you're going, do you guys recognize that? And they're like, no. And you're like, well, you should, because you've heard it for the last few weeks, because that's your dad's track. And they're like, we're not impressed either way. And that's last 19 years that I've been doing it, no matter how many offers I've had from opposing people, I've only ever exclusively worked for Extreme. So I thought that was kind of, I just kind of felt like we were kind of creating something that was kind of special. And if we went around town and watered it down. It just wasn't so special anymore, you know? Yeah, and listen, and I know it's been said before, but just know that all the effort that everybody puts in, it's not lost on the composers. We definitely appreciate all the effort that goes in, for sure. My kids' teeth appreciate it. Like, it's good. So it's thank you for that. Definitely appreciate it. So
All right. Thanks, Blues.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Thank you.
Take care, Blues. It's good to see everybody again.
Good to see you.
See ya.